Okay, we'd like to call to order the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission special meeting of November 21st, 2024. Mr. Henry, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme.
Here.
Ms. Strang.
Here.
Mr. Khan.
Here.
Ms. Belofsky.
Here.
Mr. Millspaw.
Here.
Ms. Gold.
Present.
Chairman Darpino.
Here. First up is our discussion item 1356 Balltown Road, a site plan application for a single-family townhomes requiring a variance from the ZBA. You have a representative from the applicant?
Several.
Okay.
Victor Caponera, attorney for the applicant and owner of the property. So as you probably know, we were in front of the zoning board last night, and they were very pleased and excited over the application that we put in, which was a reduction from what started out as, well, I don't want to go back to 2017, but let's just talk about the reality of the 20 that went down to 18, that's now down to 14.
Mhm.
And as everyone should know, this was a long, drawn-out matter that went through the court system and was going to the appellate division before Ilana, your attorney, and myself got together and resolved this in the way that we did, which is why we're here going through this exercise. And I appreciate the fact that Laura has worked very diligently on this with us, as has Ilana, and of course my clients, to put this to where we are right now. So zoning board was, as I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you were here last night, very happy to approve the reduced number of variances that we needed, which started out, if you can recall, at over 100, went down to 53, and last night 36. And if you exclude the side yard setbacks of 14, you're really 22. So it was unanimous, and that's where we're at.
Okay, good. So since our Monday meeting, we do have an updated site plan. And one of the things that I wanted to do is just run through some of the updates here so that
Absolutely.
all the board members can take a look at that.
I want to bring in our eminent expert here so he can follow along with you, because he's the one that worked on this.
Okay, great. All right. So updates from the plan are the bioretention area has been moved and relocated down, reconfigured over by the stormwater management parcel. The grading was changed, and we'll call it that dry swale, which is colored in green, kind of loops around and hooks around. Takes a little bit more of that area over, I guess we'll call it towards the north, and a little bit to the west. There's another section that was updated where the curve in the road is, right below. That's lot number 8. And picks up right down there by lot number 8.
Sorry.
That's okay.
One more try. There we go.
Yeah, right there. Okay. Another update is to the southeast of that, there is a retaining wall that is right adjacent to the road. If you keep scrolling down, Laura, that'd be perfect, which is colored in red. So there is an existing house on the parcel to the southeast right there. And if you check the grades there, that's approximately a 5-foot high wall, plus or minus 5 to 6 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe Hens, Ingalls and Associates. I'm a civil engineer on the project. Yeah, it's about 5 to 6 feet high.
Okay. Right on the edge of the road. And when we get into the discussion points, we'll talk about the location of that and just the layout of the road itself. And then again, so slight updates to the area, which is the green space between CVS and the edge of Balltown Road and the first sets of townhomes. Okay. So I think those were the major updates. Is that correct for a summary?
Yeah, that's correct. The dry swell too was adjustable. We didn't adjust the dry swell, but the open space was adjusted to completely remove the dry swell from that area. So it's not a maintenance issue.
Okay. All right. One of the concerns that we still have, and we went back and looked at the plan that had 18, townhomes at it was the inside private road that goes up towards WRGB 6. So those are the top there. Laura, if you wanted to zoom in on that a little bit. So the fire chief did look at the plan, and they still believe per code that they're going to need some sort of turnaround or secondary egress or some sort of system to get an apparatus there because it does exceed the 150 feet. I know that this was a discussion item. There hasn't been an update on that. There was a possibility of reaching out to WRGB 6 with some help from the town to try to get possibly, granted easement where there could be a hard pan area or maybe a reinforced grass turf. Could you bring the plan down just a little bit? So you can see the road so if you look where the cut in for WRGB is, that section of lawn right there up to where the property line, just beyond the property line, perfect. That would be an area that we would be concerned about possibly getting some sort of, plantings. It could be similar to like what was at Kelt's Farm where the secondary egress is a dedicated area. One good option. Another option is that you might end up with a redesign to get to some sort of turnaround or whatever you could have for the apparatus bay.
I know we're in the process of communicating with the fire chief on this. There also are a couple other options we're looking at in terms of meeting the fire code. We're required to have 150 feet from any of the fire access roads to that building 7 and 8. We're just a little shy at about 180 feet clear from that main road from Barcelona to Van Antwerp. So we're looking at some other ways we can still meet that 150-foot distance. I know if you come in off of WRGB's lot as well, that also would hit the 150 foot from there. So you would have two fire accesses from both WRGB and from our new road. So we're working on that. I know we've reached out to WRGB as well. I think that's a preferred option. And then any connection there could be gated or, a chain put across if needed, just to keep people from cutting through. I think that's the main concern. But that would serve as a common connection for both properties. So if there ever, for some reason, was a break or, a blockage on WRGB, you could also have fire access from our property. So looking at all the options, hopefully we'll reach a conclusion in the next few days.
Okay. One of the other concerns I had there is if this is the configuration, if that space was to remain, the private road maintenance of snow plowing, typically you get to an end of a road, it's easy, you can just dump the snow there. Some of our planning principles is what they do is they have dedicated areas that flank the road that are specifically reserved for snow removal. So snow would be pushed to the north and then off to the right or left. So that's just another thing that may need to be considered.
Yeah, I think I saw that in the draft engineering review letter as well. We do have a 10-foot offset from the road for a utility easement.
Okay.
So maybe we could use some of that space or have that, language in there that some of that space is set aside for snow storage.
Right. And with that 150 feet that triggers it, one of the nice planning principles is we've aligned the driveway with Barcelona, which I think is something that's a good merit. But again, it's triggered this fire review. One of the other observations I had was so if you're coming down that same road on the private road and you're going to come towards the retaining wall, we'd like to see some more screening on that because I think especially at night, headlights would be shining directly at the back of that house. And, it is a modest sized house, but they do have windows back there. If there was a way to try to configure that, I know that that's very tight up against the road. If there could be a little bit more space for a couple reasons, just maintenance, some plantings, things like that may be beneficial. It's something when you're working on those contours, maybe take a look at that. And when you model that, you could see where the house is. You'll notice that that's going to get some direct traffic lighted at.
Yeah, we could take a look at that. Fortunately, the area in front of the retaining wall is going to be open space. So, we have the ability to put some screening there. I think that definitely would work as an option.
Okay. A couple other things with the water department, they mentioned that on both Van Antwerp and Balltown Road, they want to have a permanent tee-in with valves. That's something that you'll see from the water department. I think we've already talked about looping the water line in. That's all information that you'll be processing when you kind of work through the plan. And those were the main takeaways that I had as a project lead. We did receive the letter from MJ Engineering, and actually, I can invite. It's a good time for Joel up.
Yeah, you want to come back? You don't have to go through every item, maybe just the
I
high.
wasn't going to do it.
Thank you.
Bill Bianchi, Vice President of Civil Engineering with MJ. Like Laura indicated, we issued a letter today with some information that the board can use as a tool as you contemplate seeker.
Mhm.
I'm not going through the letter unless you have specific questions about any comments that we had.
I'll let the board bring up any. I just had a few things I wanted to just highlight.
Yeah, just a minor clarification on that, I forget which number it was, but about, on the EAF, they had said that this does get mentioned in the comp plan, but you had said it specifically doesn't get mentioned in the comp plan.
It was just a question on the EAF.
Right. No, yeah, understood, but
It is inconsequential, really.
yeah, no,
It's
understood.
merely-
I'm just,
yeah.
I'm just trying to be
I-
complete, that's all.
Yeah, I reviewed the comp plan. I was the one that prepared the EAF. I noticed in the comp plan, it included, the town core is through that area. That's the main area. And one of the goals in that area is to have pedestrian walkways. So the question on the EAF was, did we design the project in accordance with the comp plan? And we did put that pedestrian walkway in there, which,
Okay.
kind of meets the goals.
Okay, thank you very much, that explains it.
So a couple things were on page, let's see, page 2. There was reference to the proposed action will result in alterations of increase or decrease the size of the encroachment of any existing wetlands. It's understood that the wetlands on site are non-jurisdictional. So that's just one of the things we wanted to make sure that was noted on the plan, which it is. And then there's also references to the private road, which we just recapped as far as what needs to be for the emergency uses, and also the snow clearing was also mentioned as well. The stormwater runoff that runs towards CVS, is this, because of this update, is that an area that's going to become problematic, or would it be possibly subject to downstreaming?
Are you asking me or are you asking the engineer?
I'm asking you as from your reference in here.
I will tell you from our review, we cannot give you an answer because the modeling stopped at the property line.
Okay.
But we did pose the question saying, hey, you're doing something unusual.
Mhm.
Look deeper. So that's the best we can do for you today.
Okay.
But just to give you as a backstop to that topic is the way we crafted the neg deck puts pretty strong guardrails on that.
Mhm.
Saying the secret finding sets the standard they have now between today and the end of the project to meet those guardrails.
Do we know if there's an existing easement, a drainage easement, because those culverts are existing that take water off that property?
The mapping does not indicate that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. That was the last item that I had from the report.
Okay.
Chairman, I just had one question about the wetlands. I know they're not jurisdictional for Army Corps or New York State, but the town code does discourage filling, grading, and alteration of wetlands. So the applicant did a delineation. Is there a corresponding report? I know at the last meeting you made a description that there were low quality wetlands. So do you have a corresponding report?
We
that
do have
supports
a
that?
wetland delineation report. We can provide that for review.
I just think it'd be good for the record to have that if we're going to create or alter the wetlands, that there's a documentation that they're low quality.
Yeah, definitely. We can get that to you guys. I know, the vegetation there is mostly Phragmites. The wetland itself was primarily created from runoff from the WRGB parking lot. So it's nothing too nice over there.
I just wanted to take this moment to publicly thank Joel Bianchi and MJ for putting together such a thorough review, and also helping with the part 2 and part 3 of the seeker, because normally the CAC does that, but they weren't able to get it together. So you have the CAC memo, and then Joel and I like 99% Joel, put the part 2 and 3 together. The only thing that I changed is that you guys are kind of used to this, but the CAC always thinks that flora and fauna are impacted, so that's why they always put all of the habitat stuff in there.
Thank you, Laura. I didn't do it. I just signed my name on it.
It was very well done, and I am appreciative of how fast MJ worked.
Okay.
And Ingalls as well.
I mean, I feel confident. I've looked this over and I tried to look it over carefully because I know we're on a short timeline. So I feel confident about everything that's here. So I'm just going to ask the question to the entire board for all the eyes that looked on it. Does everyone feel the same way? I don't think there's any glaring gaps or misses. For me, one of the biggest issues is the feedback from the fire department about the road, right? So we'll have to get that resolved one way or the other. And so,
It'll be resolved.
I mean, I'm hearing that your prime path is working some kind of deal with the BRGB.
I know Laura's got a lot of,
I'm going to help. I'm going to see
yeah,
if
she's
I
going to help.
have
Yeah.
a person that has worked with us before that I'm going to see if he can put us in the right contact with people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's overall best option because I think if you had to come back and put a turnaround as the fire chief recommended, we're going to run into some challenges.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to make, when we get to the new business section, but to just add a condition that the road would be designed and resolved to a point where it would meet the fire egress code.
I mean,
And I think that would be reasonable. Okay. All right. So when we get to that point, we'll amend our current resolution.
So we also have the feedback from the police chief also on
Yeah.
concerns over the cut through.
Mhm.
And then the discussions over the utilities, having to loop it and extend the water. So I just wonder if it's worth a discussion over essentially where the retaining wall is, just breaking the road and eliminating lots 7 and 8 and having 3 on Balltown, 3 on Van Antwerp with 2 private driveways with no connecting road.
the answer is no. This has been litigated. It went through the courts, and this is the decision that was made.
Yeah,
So the planning board has no say in the review of this.
I can answer that question.
I would I'll defer to your counsel.
So this is a unique situation in the sense that there's pending litigation, that litigation is by its nature unpredictable. So both parties, I think, are in agreement that having certainty has value. And even though what you're saying may have been a good plan at the beginning, it would require different variances than what we've already been approved by the zoning board. So we're pretty far down this path now to switch gears. So the points that you raised, I think, are super valid. It's just we're now at a point where those aren't good options any longer.
And I might add that the town withdrew its appeal, where the Supreme Court Judge Powers ordered that the town grant us 18 lots. Just for the record.
And that option was shared with the developers just for them to consider because it does, help with some things, but obviously the loss of a unit at this point is like really challenging.
Mhm.
So I appreciate you guys looking at that option though.
Yeah, and again, keying off what Mr. had said in terms of my review, there is a suboptimality relative to the planning where especially the water sewer items concerned. But I think that there's an engineering solution that keeps this looking the way it looks and solving the problem.
Yeah, and if I can, just kind of quickly go through the guide rails, the sanitary sewer, they were able to reroute to Balltown Road. It'll be a public sanitary sewer there. I think we're feeling pretty good about the sanitary sewer. The water system, it still needs like a hydrant flow test, and a loop, but I don't think that has been a stumbling block. I think that's just a little more engineering that we're going to work on. The stormwater we talked about tonight needs the downstream kind of CVS analysis. The roads, we're we're assuming will be maintained by an HOA. So we talked about snow, and then working out the fire code with the police chief. I mean, with the fire chief.
Right.
And then another thing we talked about is traffic calming on that private road. I get kind of excited about it because we're not really able to do a lot of unique traffic calming on the town roads, but these will be private roads. So if they
Yep.
want to do, traffic humps or gateways or whatever they want to do to keep the cars from going through, like, we're very much in support of the traffic calming. The multi-use path easement looks good. The building facades would go to the ARB, but I talked to one of you, I can't remember, I think it was one of the BR Holdings, Miller Brothers, about what we can do, how many different facades we have to have, and because we have the multiple buildings and stuff like that. So I know you guys are already working on the facades.
Yep.
And then, the open space, deed restricted, the stormwater areas will have wildflowers and things to promote habitat diversity. And then we're just still working on the limits of clearing map.
And it was also acknowledged that I believe they reached out to the school,
Oh, yeah,
and the
thank you.
school
School
said
bus
that they
actually.
would be picking up at a designated area similar to Van Antwerp Village. They wouldn't be bringing buses through directly. And the police chief did acknowledge that it is a potential cut through. We will see what happens, but
Yep.
not unlike any other areas in town where that could be a possible issue.
Right, and to Laura's point in that final one, right, I think Chief Koshan's note's really a note to, the developer and the applicant that probably should do something to, discourage it being used as a cut through.
Mhm. Also, I did want to let you guys know, we did a full mail out to every single adjacent property for the zoning board, and we received 0 comments at the zoning board. And I did actually talk to an adjacent neighbor this morning who said that they were pleasantly surprised with this plan. They were very much in support of it. They had been opposed to it in the past, but they felt like it had addressed a lot of the main things that were scary to them. They liked the alignment with Barcelona Drive. They liked the more open space. The multi-use path was really important to them. They think that they will use it regularly because they live across the street. So, So I didn't hear anything at the zoning board opposed, and heard a thank you, which we hardly ever
Okay.
get.
And you didn't get any specific feedback from that house that's at 137, at 1347?
No, no
Antwerp,
one
right?
came to the zoning board. We haven't heard from that
Okay.
house.
Okay,
But I still think we should be very careful with that retaining wall and do like a
Yes.
lot of buffering.
yeah,
And also to add, we're not there yet, but the unique situation of the way that these townhomes, all 4 facades are going to count because we're going to see each side. So the designer will be challenged in that aspect.
He's working on it.
Okay. Any other discussion items before we move to the new business and the resolution? Okay. Moving on to new business is Resolution 2024-37, a resolution for sketch plan approval for seeker determination and to call for a public hearing for a single-family townhomes requiring variances from the ZBA at 1356 Balltown Road. And I will read the conditions here.
Before you start reading, I just wanted to let you know that Clark and I went back and forth on where to put the sort of guiding rails of the sketch plan, and I did put them in a whereas clause,
Mhm.
because it's outlining the things actually that I just went over with you guys on the. But you could move them to conditions. I just like them better in the whereas.
I'm fine with that. I don't know about the rest of the
No, I
board, but
don't-
I thought the summary was fine. It is archived here, so I'm okay with where it is located in this.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that this planning board and zoning commission does hereby classify this sketch plan as a major subdivision as defined by chapter 189 of the code of the town of Niskayuna, and be it hereby further resolved that the planning board and zoning commission does hereby grant sketch plan approval for the concept subdivision drawing entitled Presentation Plan 1356 Balltown Road, Niskayuna, New York by Ingalls and Associates LLP, dated November 14th, 2024, and revised on November 20th, 2024, with the following conditions. 1, sketch plan approval is a conceptual review of the proposed lot division for the purposes of classification and preliminary discussion as described in the Town of Niskayuna zoning sections 189-6 and 189-22. The location of proposed boundary lines, infrastructure, utilities, and improvements are subject to change during the engineering review, public hearing, and major subdivision review process. And be it hereby further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby determine that this project will not have a significant effect on the environment and hereby directs the town planner to file a negative seeker declaration as noted above with the Part 3 environmental assessment form findings and the CAC memo attached to this resolution and made a part hereto, and be it hereby further resolved that this planning board does hereby call for a public hearing to be held on Monday, December 2nd, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. in the Niskayuna Town Hall, 1 Niskayuna Circle, to consider the application of Victor A. Caponera for a major subdivision consisting of 14 single-family townhomes at 1356 Balltown Road, Niskayuna, New York. I'll move.
Second.
Okay, second by Ms. Strang. I would like to add one condition on the road, and I'd like to word it as such. The private road running to the north will be designed to meet current codes and emergency egress standards.
To the second further resolved clause,
Correct.
Mhm.
condition number 2.
Well,
Make a motion to amend.
Yes, I'm going to make a motion to amend.
yeah, but let's just discuss exactly where
Okay.
we're gonna put that in as a condition, right? So
Correct.
So it goes in as condition number 2, doesn't it,
Condition number 2.
Laura?
The second further resolved clause.
Yes.
Right, yeah, the
Mhm.
second
For
further
sketch
resolved
plan.
clause.
Mhm.
Yep,
Right.
the one that, number 1 being with sketch plan, yeah, so number 2.
Right.
Good.
Okay. So I made a motion to amend by adding that sentence. I believe Ms. Gold second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, condition was added. All right, any other further discussion? Okay. Mr. Henry, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Ms. Strang,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Ms. Belowski,
Aye.
Mr. Millspa.
While this is lumped with the negative declaration, I do think this will not have an adverse impact on the environment, but I do not agree with the sketch plan, so I'm a no.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Darpino.
Aye, motion's carried.
Thank you.
David, do you mind emailing us the language that you read into the record?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you very much, and we will see you December 2nd.
Thank you.
There are no other items on this agenda, so we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Gold,
Second.
second by Ms. Belowski. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And the special meeting is adjourned at 7:29 PM.
I didn't think this would be a long one.
I
Goodness.
did not know. I didn't want to call it.
One, I don't agree with being forced into